and they're going to want to win this in any way possible. So they're going to do everything they can to get the lead early.
You've always said one of these is the tame race and one is the wild one. Which one did we see already?
We saw the tame one.
Well then, buckle up, folks, because we're about to go at it for another 60 laps to finish setting the field for the Daytona 500.
Hey, Boyers, DW, are you awake?
Hey, buddy.
Oh, he's awake tonight.
Hey, you sound revved up. You ready to go, pal?
Race day, bud. It's always exciting. We're going to do a little more work, make this a little more exciting, huh?
As far as teammates.
60 laps, 150 miles.
NASCAR's biggest stars are about to duel.
Green flag.
Boogity, boogity, boogity. Let's go racing drivers.
My heart's pounding.
Elliott rules at Daytona. Chase Elliott covers the bottom. Welcome back to the Gander RV Duel on FS1. Here's your Gander starting grid. For Duel number 2, Alex Bowman will start on the front row for the 500 for the second year in a row. Chase Elliott won his Duel the last 2 years. 2015 500 winner and defending series champ Joey Logano. Clint Boyer, twice a runner-up in this race. Austin Dillon, last year's 500 winner. Denny Hamlin has 3 Duel wins, tied for the most among active drivers. Eric Jones won here last July, and Ryan Blaney won his Duel last year. Eric Almirola won the Daytona 499 last year, but got turned around before the finish line. Kurt Busch, 2011 Duel winner. David Reagan and Michael McDowell, front row motorsports teammates in row 6. Casey Mears is locked into the 500 on qualifying time. He's one of those open cars. And Jamie McMurray, former 500 winner, in a one-off ride for Chip Ganassi tonight and in the 500. Brendan Gaughan must race his way into the 500. And Kyle Larson, runner-up 6 times last year. Ty Dillon, 5th in his Duel 3 years ago. Ross Chastain is a rookie. Corey LaJoie in his 3rd Duel appearance. B.J. McLeod, he's locked in, driving for one of the chartered teams. And finally, Joey Gase, who also must race his way into the Daytona 500. And what in the world is that? That is Corey LaJoie on Corey LaJoie's Mustang.
That's your sponsor having some fun.
That's a great, I just love that.
Sure is. Now in our first head-to-head, the 21, Paul Menard, finished ahead of Jimmy Johnson in the first duel. So among two of the young guns and current breakout stars of NASCAR, Chase Elliott in a Chevrolet, Joey Logano in a Ford.
This is a great matchup. I mean, you said it, Mike. The 9 of Chase Elliott won his duel last year, but we've got Joey Logano coming off of a phenomenal year in the championship. He's got a lot of confidence. I think it comes down to pit stalls. If this race has a caution flag where they pit under caution, I give the advantage to Chase Elliott. He's got the #1 pit stall. If it comes down to a green flag stop, I give the advantage to the 22 of Logano.
I like Logano. I think he'll work real hard to get the lead, and I think he'll hold on to it and say, come up here and get it if you can. Hey, what do you say we talk to the wild man, Clint Boyer? Huh? Hey, Clint Boyer, DW, you got me, buddy?
I got you, pal.
So you watched that first race, and what did you figure out? What are you going to do in this race?
I better follow this 9 car to the outside for a while. You know, I don't know why. Obviously, over the years, this outside line has kind of prevailed, but it seems like this year it's even more so. But it still comes down to those last couple laps and trying to get a run and formulate something to get by the leader. Obviously, got a pit stop here and got to watch all that. Make sure you hit your marks there. But usually when that first one's calm, the second one's wild, and vice versa. So hopefully it don't get too wild, but hopefully there's 14 balls in the front when it does.
Well, all I know is if it gets wild, you're the wild man. You can handle it. So good luck, buddy.
All right, man. Thanks.
Clint Boyer will roll off 4th. Let's go down to pit road. Jamie Little.
Well, Mike, just like we saw in duel #1, there are differing agendas here for duel #2. Kurt Busch, for instance, he's working with his brand new crew chief, Matt McCall. Matt told me they had an issue in communication during the clash on Sunday. He said getting that extra time, understanding what his new driver wants in the car, well, nothing is better than racing conditions. The time here in this duel will be invaluable moving forward. Vince Welch?
Several drivers told me they'd like nothing more than to be racy during this duel, but they also know that in all likelihood people are going to be running the top. One crew chief said you need at least a half a dozen other cars if you're going to make the bottom work and go to the front. Chris Gabehart, the crew chief for Denny Hamlin, said, my driver likes to experiment, so you might want to keep an eye on the 11 in this duel. Larry McReynolds?
Yeah, Vince, as a crew chief, I always liked being in the second duel. Why? I could see kind of the lay of the land from duel #1. And what I saw in duel #1 is when those Fords and Toyota teams got organized and came to pit road together at lap 12 when the fuel window opened, they prevailed. The Chevrolet teams waited a few laps, but it was almost too small of a group, and they just got blown by those Fords and Toyotas. So once that window opens about lap 12, I think that's when you have to come to pit road. Let's take a look at our race analysis now. We're going to go 60 laps, 150 miles, pit road speed, which Brad Keselowski, his second trip to pit road, 55 miles per hour. And there's that fuel window I'm talking about, 46 to 48 laps. To the rear, Ross Chastain in the 15 car missed the driver's meeting, Mike.
Thanks, Larry. Ready to go here. Again, 3 drivers trying to race their way into the 500. Casey Mears is in on speed. Brendan Gaughan going to try to get there along with Joey Gase, trying to race their way in. And Ryan Truex still has an outside shot to make the 500. If Casey Mears races in, then Truex gets in on speed. 58 degrees. The track temp has not changed. Still at 63 and a light breeze out of the northeast.
63 degrees on the track temp. That's a cold track. It's not. It's a very cool track.
Now, right after the race, stick around here on FS1 because coming up is the Fox Sports Films premiere of Unrivaled. Dale Earnhardt, the veteran, Jeff Gordon, the kid, and boy, they had a rivalry for the ages. On and off the track. You'll see it right here on FS1.
And so did a lot of our fans. That's probably where the real rivalry was.
True. So this should be the wild one. We listened in on Joey Logano's team.
Harvick was lead You see him come down, and then the outside lane formed pretty quick, I think, behind him, faster than he thought it was going to form. He came down to get the push in the middle of the corner, and that outside lane built pretty quick, so we're going to have to be aware of that. But yeah, I got you there, buddy. 7-4. I'll just go where you tell me to go if we get in that situation.
TJ Majors, Joey Logano's spotter that helped him to a championship in the Cup Series in 2018. Green flag, 60 laps, 150 miles to set the outside lane for the Daytona 500.
Boy, already cars getting in that outside lane. That's the last thing Joey Logano and Austin Dillon want to see. And Blaney's going to take him 3 wide in the first corner around Denny Hamlin.
Now Hamlin's in the sucker hole there in the middle. It usually doesn't work out well. You got to get out of there.
Well, he's got a draft off Logano, and now Austin Dillon behind him.
And we saw in the first duel that third place car, which was Daniel Hamrick, went all the way to the back of this pack after about 2 or 3 laps.
Yeah, I think Logano in the 22 is hoping that Hamlin here in 11 will get up there and give him a push. That inside is just goes nowhere. It's amazing how slow it is.
I think Blaney's trying to help his teammate out. I just don't know if he can back that. Oh, he's going to do it. Wow, great teamwork right there. Great teammate.
Now it is Hamlin in the Toyota who needs to find some help to slide up.
Whoa, Blaney is not going to return the favor to Denny Hamlin.
I don't think I'd try that.
He's like, nope, you're driving the wrong make, buddy.
Right. And here they go.
Oh, man, he squeezed Eric Almirola, too. Desperate to get up in that outside group. Denny Hamlin knows if he doesn't get up in the hole very soon, a lot of sparks off the 34 car.
He is back to 10th.
The first hole I see is at the back of the field. That's when he's going to be able to get back in line.
Well, and you saw
12th.
Austin Dillon filled the first hole. Can Denny Hamlin now? I think he's going to be able to get up right here. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, he did. You really, Mike, that's where you have to depend so much on your spotter. There's a small opening, but I don't think you can get in it. You got to wait for him to clear you up.
So Hamlin gets into line 13th.
Well, the car really sparking there.
Yeah,
back to the field.
And these teams were able to make some adjustments for heights in the front with maybe some Packers. Larry McReynolds was talking about in that first duel, as well as raise the back of the car. But it looks like some of them, like Michael McDowell and Gase, really missed the heights on the splitter and seen a lot of sparks at the left front, the 34 car of Michael McDowell. Now, as those air pressures build with the heat, that car will start to rise up.
2 cars that have to race their way in, battling hard. Jamie.
Well, Brendan Gaughan, he's such an excitable guy, but I stood next to him watching the end of duel number 1, stressed out because then he knew he had to beat the 27 of Casey Mears and the 66 of Gase. Well, Casey Mears' crew chief told me, we're going to ride around the back. We cannot wreck this primary. That's the 27. He's in the back right now. So Brendan Gaughan must get around the 66 if he wants a chance to race in the Daytona 500. There he goes.
Boy, this is a heck of a battle right here. I think these 2 guys know how important this is. Now, what Brendan's going to have to do is get to the very edge of the left rear of Joey Gase to try to get as much of a side draft to lunge him forward as possible, or vice versa.
It's a game of chicken right here. Who's going to get in front of who here?
And they know they're going to lose the draft and probably go a lap down by doing this, but this is for that transfer spot.
They only care about each other.
That's right.
Well, they don't care for each other. They're only concerned about each other.
Now, Mike, it is Valentine's Day, so maybe they do care about each other today.
Well, then hi to all of our wives at home, but there's no love lost between these 2 right here.
I agree.
There'll be no bouquets.
I agree.
I'm a little surprised Brendan Gaughan's not being more aggressive to get his right front fender to the left rear of Joey Gase.
Well, if he was any more aggressive, he'd be in the door, because he goes right up there. He tries to get that side draft, but these 2 cars are just locked together.
And meanwhile, up front,
awfully darn racy there for lap 5 for the transfer spot.
I think right now it's an ideal situation for the 2 cars. It's 2 teammates at the front, Bowman and Elliott, and then the 14 to 22, and these guys are still going at it.
Well, there's a couple $100,000 at stake here, because somebody going to have to drive home after tonight. No purse.
Well, and a big investment that they made to come down here to compete and hopefully make it into the Daytona 500.
I think Brendan did the right thing there, getting behind the 66. Just draft him for a while. You got a long way to go. Set him up and pass him later.
Here goes Hamlin trying to improve on 13th. But it is lonely town down there in the bottom lane.
Well, one thing we know for sure about Denny Hamlin, he's not just going to sit in line and ride.
Well, he can't. He can't right now. He's got to try to make something happen. Well, maybe you get down there and you get an opening, you can get up in line.
But remember how many cars he passed coming to pit road on Sunday in that clash. I think you'll see him, if he can't advance forward here, which I'll be surprised if he does. Watch him to make some really bold, aggressive moves coming to pit road if they pit under green.
Yeah, I just think right now it's kind of set up. You got the 88 leading the 9 second there with Elliott. Then you got the 3 Fords, the 14, the 22, and the 12.
So here is
happy.
Austin Dillon, David Reagan, and Hamlin on the inside trying to make something happen. Now that's an interesting mix, a Chevy, a Ford, and a Toyota together.
Now all I see if I'm Denny Hamlin is 2 spots that I'm going to get if I just go back in the outside lane.
And
you'll move all the way up to 12th if you do that.
Exactly. Just keep doing that.
Oh gosh. I don't know. I think if I'm in that 88 car right now, I'm a happy camper.
The reason why I think it's really hard to latch on to that inside lane is because exactly that right there. Austin Dillon's going to get up the first chance he gets.
And he does in front of younger brother Ty. And there they go together back to the bottom.
Yeah,
Hamlin.
When you get down the back straightaway, you're doing about 200 miles an hour. You can dive to the bottom, and you can run up to maybe 10th place, but you can't stay there. You just fall back on the straightaway.
Hamlin got 1 spot. He passed David Reagan and went back to the top.
But, Mike, I think these guys all watched that first race. Nobody tried to make anything happen. They said, well, I'm going to try anyway. I got nothing to lose. I'm going to try. I might have something to gain. That's a pretty sound, isn't it? That engine, those engines are not nice, crisp, clean sound. Just max power, wide open.
Hamlin on Kyle Larson.
Now you can see how much he can gain by going to the low side of the track. He just needs a place to get back up in line. He's hoping he can break apart a couple cars to find that gap and make a few spots up by himself. Vince?
Well, the one thing about Denny Hamlin, as I mentioned a moment ago, he's adventurous. He wants to learn something, and if it means experimenting, as crew chief Chris Gabehart said, you can count on Denny to do it. The problem is you need so many other partners with you if you take the bottom line. You cannot do it on your own, and so many teams are just viewing the risk versus reward of riding up top and waiting on something to happen. Denny wants to make something happen, but you got to have a lot of partners to do it.
Well, when he went, there was a gap in front of the 34, Michael McDowell, but Hamlin couldn't get that far up in front of that yellow car.
What Denny's hoping for right now is all those cars lined up in the outside lane. If we were to go on board, you'll hear some of them check up going in the corner, and that creates a gap. He's banking on that. He's trying to get a big run, and as they check up, he shoots the inside and maybe slides up in that hole.
His bank's been foreclosed on.
Yeah, Mike, it takes at least 4 cars to get together, work together, and run the bottom. We saw it in the clash. Remember, Joey Logano got down there, made it all the way up to the front, but couldn't stay.
And here's the thing. Nobody's going to want to form up right now. It's just too early. I think you're going to need to get much deeper into this race before you're going to get some takers to want to work with you to move forward.
Well, guys, right now we're coming to complete lap 11 in the first duel. This is where we saw Martin Truex Jr. hit pit road. 1 lap later is when all the Fords and Toyotas came. So I would say in the next 2 or 3 laps we should see some guys peeling off and coming to pit road.
And that will shake things up, you know, the pit stop and who gets in and out and who speeds and who doesn't speed. That could shake things up.
And I still think that it's a numbers game. Right now you have 2 Chevrolets up front. The next Chevrolet's all the way back at 6. You have 5 Fords that are much closer together from 3rd all the way down to 9th.
I think what we're getting ready to see here, Mike, it looks like everybody's kind of moving to the bottom to get ready to make a pit stop.
Duel 1 was won by the driver who made the best pit stop in the first group to come to pit road.
Looks like the Chevrolets are going to be the first to flinch here.
I didn't think Kurt Busch was going to make it.
Half the field, roughly. 8 cars coming to pit lane.
And remember, Mike, you were 200 miles an hour just a second ago going down the back, down to 55 to get on pit road.
Kurt Busch is done, fuel only. Kyle Larson, Eric Jones, Alex Bowman, all finished. Jamie McMurray peels out. Ty Dillon a little longer for his stop. Older brother Austin, and away they go.
That's where that #1 pit stall I talked about that the 9 of Chase Elliott ended up with is going to hurt him here a little bit.
And Mike, you know how you can tell the temperatures are cool? Sunday, you won't hear those tires squealing like that when they leave the pit road. Tonight it's nice and cool. The track is. You get a squealing tires like that.
7 more.
All Fords, I think one Toyota of Denny Hamlin in there.
Led by Clint Boyer. Eric Jones too fast exiting pit road. Ryan Blaney, chassis adjustment and fuel. Reagan and McDowell, the front row cars are done. Hamlin packs it full of gas. He peels out. There goes Almirola and Boyer. So out in front, Brendan Gaughan, along with Casey Mears, Corey LaJoie.
Brendan Gaughan said, I told y'all if we'd stick together, we'd get up there and get the lead. They stuck together, and they got the lead.
All he has to do is finish in front of Casey Mears and Joey Gase, and he's in the 500. So in race 1, the driver who did what Alex Bowman did, that was Kevin Harvick, had the best pit stop of the first group to stop, stayed out front the rest of the way, won the race.
Well, you can already see those Fords that had pitted the lap after, a little bit of an advantage. I don't know if it was getting to pit road or getting off pit road, but they just executed a little bit better, as well as Denny Hamlin. And you can already see Alex Bowman and Chase Elliott and those other Chevrolets a little bit further behind this group.
However, on the stopwatch, Alex Bowman's stop was quicker than Kevin Harvick's stop in race 1.
And I was noticing that when the Fords came to pit road, it looked to me like, I believe it was the 14 of Boyer, it looked to me like he carried that group a little bit faster onto pit road.
And remember Hamlin, he's up to 5th now. Remember what he did in the clash when everybody pitted? He passed about 5 or 6 cars getting to pit road. That's huge in a race like this, getting on pit road, getting off.
We saw a move by Chase Elliott trying to make a pass on his buddy Ryan Blaney. Not going to pay off. He's going to go to the back of this line.
Hamlet could not pull that move here because he wasn't on the outside of the group of cars coming onto pit road. He was stuck in the middle.
But he's very aggressive on getting, in and out of the pits. I mean, last year, I don't know how many times he got penalized for speeding on pit road because of that very thing, being so aggressive. But tonight, paid off.
45 laps to go. The pit stop has occurred for all but Brendan Gaughan, Casey Mears, and Corey LaJoie. They're out front.
Let them go. So
gap from the first group back to the second group, and if it extends or decreases.
Welcome back to the Gander RV Duel on FS1. Kevin Harvick, winner of race 1. Clint Bowyer leading this pack around of drivers who have already made their pit stop. The 3 drivers out front have not yet stopped, and there is the difference to those that have.
There's about a second difference in lap times, Mike. Those 3 cars out front, they're running the 46s, high 46s. These cars back here with Bowyer running in a low 45, so they're closing at about a second a lap.
Yeah, and then the next group behind them, led by Chase Elliott, they're running about the same speed. They're trying to make sure they don't lose that first group there that's made up of a few more cars so that they can latch on.
Yeah, I saw that in the first go around here, the first duel, that you can get pretty far back, and if you got a little help like this, you could catch back up. So we'll see if Chase Elliott in that 9 car can get back up there. Whoa, that 3 was a little jukey getting into turn 1.
I'm impressed with the job that Bowyer did leading this group to pit road, but I'm really impressed with Denny Hamlin. I mean, we saw him jumping out of line, trying to make something happen, and instead, what does he do? He comes with this group, gets on pit road, executes well on pit road, and then now here he is sitting in second place.
Well, I think the other thing too is the fuel. How long do you sit there and put fuel in the car?
And so I don't mean second place. It's going to happen. He's going to go to second place. Now these guys are on pit road.
Here come the leaders.
Hey guys, Brendan Gaughan and LaJoie and Mears, they had to come. They were being run down so fast by that big group that they were going to get blown by, and then they were going to be in jeopardy of going a lap down if they pitted under green. So they had to come right then.
Yeah, Larry, there was a second difference in the lap time between those 3 lead cars and the 14 car on back here. They were at like I said a minute ago, 46 is high and 45 low, so they're making about a second a lap.
Now we know we'll see that smiling face on the hood Sunday because Corey LaJoie's locked into the 500, but Brendan Gaughan is trying to race his way in along with Casey Mears and Joey Gase, who is now out in front of them. Vince.
Well, I just talked with the crew chief, Mike Bugaravich. He's the crew chief for Clint Bowyer in the 14. And I said, why did you guys go off the wall and go down to the bottom? And he said, it's quicker down on the bottom. He said, we would like to keep a gap between ourselves and that group behind us. But if by chance they start to catch up, we'll definitely want to be up on the outside so we don't give up that bottom spot again.
Yeah, as long as everybody's lined up, if you have 10, 15 cars all lined up, there's really no reason that you have to run that bottom group. But if you're trying to maintain that gap or even pull away from this group that's back here, and you want to do that, again, you want to get as few cars in your pack as possible to break away and settle it among yourselves, then you'll choose that inside lane.
Yeah, when you follow the leader, Mike, the fastest car, you follow the fastest car. Bowyer's got the faster car. He wants to run the bottom right now.
Now the separation is about 25 car lengths, but on the stopwatch, it's only 0.3 of a second. Back to that second group.
Yeah, they're inching up. They're gaining back a little bit. We'll see what happens here as the laps wind down.
Jamie McMurray in that 40, just ahead of Kurt Busch. A little bit of a ride swap there because Jamie drove the #1 last year for Chip Ganassi, who has given McMurray a send-off for his Cup career with a ride in this number 40 in the Daytona 500 before he moves to the Fox Sports studio.
Yeah, and remember, Kurt Busch in that 1 car finished second in the Clash last Sunday, and that's a fast race car. Not in the right position right now, but he may work his way into a better spot as we go down the road here.
They are 6th and 7th. Now remember, Eric Jones in the number 20 had to serve a penalty for being too fast on pit road, and he's about to get overhauled. Vince?
You know, it's interesting. I've heard a couple of different drivers talk about how when they come off the corners running that bottom lane, the car handles much different than it did when they came off the corners running the top, especially if you're about 5th or 6th in line. The front nose of the car is very fidgety when you come off the corners running that bottom line. It's certainly got some attention to these guys.
And Vince, I think part of that is the sides of these cars. You get so much side force in these cars, and then you put that car up next to that wall, I think it stabilizes that car. When you're down on the bottom, you don't get the stability that you get up around the top.
And you have to put more steering wheel in it to hold that line around the bottom of the racetrack. So that little bit more of input with the front wheels upsets the back of the car a little bit more.
And these cars do seem to be a little jukey around the back, particularly when people are behind you moving around.
As they lapped past Eric Jones, he got in line on the tail end of that group and trying to bring this group closer to them.
Boy, Chase Elliott caught this group in a hurry that last lap and a half.
Chase Elliott said, look, I was so far behind, I caught back up. I'm going to try some things.
Here comes the 38.
David Reagan trying to pull up on Chase Elliott, who thought he could dispense with the lap car of Eric Jones, but that's not happening.
But Mike, I just believe there's a layer of air between the car and the wall, and that gives those cars some stability.
You know, to me, Chase Elliott caught this group so quick that I really thought he was going to be able to just maintain that momentum, at least get by a couple of them. I'm a little surprised that when he caught Eric Jones and tried to make that move, I don't know if he poked out a little bit too soon and it just stalled his momentum out, but I was pretty shocked he wasn't able to go right by him.
Well, since the lead group moved right past Eric Jones, perhaps Elliott thought that that would be easy pickings, but when he dropped down, Jones attacked on to the lead group, and there was nowhere for Elliott to go.
It's just like driving down the highway. When you run up behind a big semi-trailer, you can run right up to him. You think, oh, I'm going to get this guy easy. When you pull out and all that wind hits your car, whoops, what happened? Lost power.
Now they're about to catch the three cars that pitted later on and gave up the lead. Again, Brendan gone. Joey Gase, Casey Mears concerned only about each other. Corey LaJoie is going to be in the 500. He's part of that threesome. And here come the leaders on the outside.
Hey, Daryl, you were talking about stability, and I've talked to a lot of crew chiefs and engineers during the offseason, and you're absolutely right. Whether it's at Daytona or a 1.5 or 2 mile track, we think drivers are running up against the wall because there's grip. But what I have learned, engineers and crew chiefs have been encouraging drivers to run close to the wall because there's a bubble of air there, and it actually helps the side force on the car. We've kind of learned that during the offseason, so there's a lot more than just grip or speed. It's a lot about, to your point, stability with the side force it puts on that right side.
Yep.
Penske teammates running together, Joey Logano and Ryan Blaney in the 12, Jamie.
And Ryan Blaney running 5th right now. I talked to him earlier. He was so excited to get in this car. He said this is the first time we get to draft with our Daytona 500 cars. And he said it's also going to be the biggest pack that we can run in the draft with. Nobody really wants to run in a huge pack in the practice sessions coming up the next couple of days. And he's feeling his car out right now, running behind his teammate Joey Logano in the 22. Ryan's saying that his car not handling great, though. He was on the splitter quite a bit. They made a wedge and track bar adjustment on that one stop.
Yeah, I was going to say, Jamie, when he made his pit stop, we saw him screwing on those rear jack bolts a little bit, trying to tighten him up, looked like.
Halfway.
You know, just prior to Chase Elliott catching this group, they came up on the 42 of Kyle Larson, who had lost a bit of the draft to that lead group. And boy, they just went right on by him, and he's just sitting out here all by himself right now.
Motor sounds flat, Jeff. As he went by, it's almost like it lost a cylinder, maybe.
He is 7 seconds back of the lead pack. You know, it's only 9:15 p.m. in the East Coast. You think we'll wake the neighbors?
I hope so.
Let's try.
I hope so.
Will the Fox NASCAR crank it up?
Half back, 40 cars, 1.5 off to 12. All you guys behind are a gap of a half.
The next corner.
Half back to the 9. Right on your bumper. Quarter back. 40's got a gap of 2 to the 12.
Trying to see what runs he can get, but he loses 2 car lengths on the exit of 2. He closes back up the rest of the lap. Good work. Now to 20 ahead of you, the lap down, then Kurt.
We've got the 9, the 3, and then the 38. 40 cars, 2 off the 12. Yeah, I think you could have stuck your nose in there and stayed with them, but you know, I think you did the right thing. Back to the bumper here. Quarterback, 3 cars right on him. No help. Still outside. Put your door. Still there. Start deep with him. Clear back in line here. Inside by himself here. You want to lay him up in front of you, whatever you want to do here. Half back 38. We'll get to the end of the line here. 38's half back, half behind him to the 3. Then we're ahead of that group. That bottom, the 9. Last time when he got that close to the 18, it spun the car in front of him. Still off. Right in your track. Left. Just hang on. Now he's there. Gap behind him. Take the gap behind him. Now it's closing. We're going to lose it. That was a good try, though. Still there. Gap was wrong. All good. Man, that was close. It was a good try. Set your switch off, switch off. Yeah, I still got it. I still keep trying, man. Oh, doing good. The 40's the one. You gotta get the 40. He's the weakest one. Our shirt's pretty good. Yeah, it's like the 40's got him stacked, and he's too close. You know, he's not pulling him like these other guys are.
21 laps to go. No, we've been right here the whole time, watching it and enjoying it with you. 197-mile-an-hour rush hour at Daytona, and for Chase Elliott at least, lessons learned.
Yeah, you know, Mike, what I learned from that crank it up was you hear the guys feathering the throttle so they don't run over the guy in front of them, kind of stay in line. But it's strengths and weaknesses. Right now, you're okay, so I'm a driver of a car that's 4th or 5th, 6th in line. I'm really good getting into one. I'm a little better than the other guys. They beat me a little down the back. I'm pretty good getting it. You just analyze your car to try to figure out if I'm going to pounce, where do I make my best move?
Now, when Eddie DeHaan, the spotter, tells Chase Elliott the 40 might be the weak link, Jamie McMurray, is that because McMurray's not tucked right up against the 12 of Ryan Blaney?
Well, and I think they know Jamie McMurray's a great drafter, but this is a one-off race for he and that car and that team. And they are seeing this gap. And I don't know if his car, it didn't qualify great, but he's done an excellent job getting it into this position. But no doubt about it, he's maintaining a bigger gap. I don't know if it's by choice or his car's not handling as good. So it tells me that Chase Elliott's wanting to get up right in front of the 40 car. Then he feels like he's in a great position.
Kyle Larson has now fallen 26 seconds back of the lead. What's up, Jamie?
It's like he's on a Sunday afternoon drive back there all by himself, running 12th. I just checked in with the team, and Chad Johnston, his crew chief, he said everything is fine with the car, but what happened earlier when Kyle was in the draft, he had one of those moments. He had to back out of the gas, backpedal, even had to tap the brakes, and he completely lost the draft. He was by himself, but they've communicated with the 88 of Alex Bowman to see if they can work together to move up through the pack.
They're running lap times of 45 flat. And that's half a tenth quicker than the leader, but you're not going to catch him anytime soon at that pace. How about our defending Daytona 500 champ Austin Dillon, Vince?
Well, if you notice, Dillon has fallen a little bit off the back. Chase Elliott got around Dillon, and right now Dillon says his car is just crazy loose. It has really been a handful, and at these speeds, 18 laps to go has got to seem like a long, long way from the end.
Not sure what happened to Michael McDowell, but that yellow car right of your screen went high and dropped all the way to the back of the lead pack just in front of Austin Dillon. Larry?
Yeah, Mike, we had Denny Hamlin on the Race Hub show yesterday from Media Day, and Denny has won a total of 8 races at Daytona. That would include Xfinity, the Clash, the Duel, plus the 2016 Daytona 500. He has won at Talladega. And my question to him, do you feel like people underestimate you as a really good restrictor plate racer? He said, I don't know that they underestimate me, but I don't think they give me good enough credit for my success I've had with restrictor plate racing.
Boy, Larry, I don't underestimate him at all. To me, when I watch him and some of the moves he makes, you know, he's aggressive, but he's smart and you know, he's patient. I mean, he does all the right things, if you ask me, especially on these restrictor plate tracks.
And just think back a couple of years ago. Last lap of the Daytona 500, he must have been running 7th or 8th off turn 2 over there. And he come around, he got his teammate Matt Kenseth a little bit loose off 4, got up beside of Martin Truex and won that race. That was pretty impressive.
Very.
But what I think he was saying is, you hear about Logano, Keselowski, these guys, and you don't really hear his name when we talk about restrictor plates.
And in my opinion, Larry, some of that is just what Fords have been able to do on restrictor plates lately. Lately, they've just been so strong, working together and having good speed. I don't know if the Toyotas have been quite as strong the last couple of years, but I think Denny Hamlin is.
Clint Bowyer's Ford has been out front now for 26 laps. They took the lead shortly after making their pit stop. What are they up to?
Watching them on TV, Brad, I don't know what you see, but it definitely looks like the 11 is starting to lose its handling some. It's like we're pulling them through the corner some. Yeah, copy. I agree with you. I mean, I think that's a good thing for us, because if they start making moves, it'll give us more time to know which move we need to make.
See, that's great. That's great information. The 11 looks like getting a little loose in the corners now. That gives us the opportunity to maybe do something a little bit different if it comes down to it. So that's great information. And that's, Mike, that's where the spotter and the crew chief and everybody's in the game. You're not just watching a race. You're trying to help your driver win this race.
In the battle to make the race, Joey Gase has made another pit stop, falling at least 2. He'll go 3 laps down. Brendan Gaughan is 16th. He's in a position to transfer into the Daytona 500, and Casey Mears make the race on speed. And that would eliminate Ryan Truex and Joey Gase if that order stays the same.
You know, Jeff, another guy I think we maybe underestimate sometimes is that guy running third. Eric Almirola, you think about it, he almost won the Daytona 500 here last year. He won the 499, we know, and he does really, really well. He's stepping into this 10 car. He's had a great finish, 5th in the points. I think sometimes we underestimate just how good this guy is.
No, I totally agree, Daryl, and I think you brought up a really good point. We definitely overlooked the fact that he finished 5th in points. We focused so much on those 4 that went down to Homestead to battle for the championship, but to me, that is quite an accomplishment to come in his first year at Stewart-Haas Racing, be so close to winning the Daytona 500, and then finish 5th in points.
Yep.
One team has swept the dual races only twice. 2014, Joe Gibbs Racing. 2015, Hendrick Motorsports. Stewart-Haas won the first duel. Boyer's out front in this one.
There's no doubt about it. Chase Elliott's going to get an A for effort in this race. He is not afraid to jump out there and try to make one of those one-car passes.
Yeah, Mike, we're coming to 12 laps to go. This is when you start. This is when you really start thinking hard about what you want to do. I believe that Eric Almirola and Joey Logano are thinking they might jump out of line here, maybe on the last lap. If Almirola will go, Joey will go with him, and that could shake this thing up big time.
Meanwhile, you see the manufacturer rundown on the left of your screen. Denny Hamlin has no friend.
Not even close.
But he has a fast car, and that will make you friends on the last lap.
He's in the best position. I think what he has to protect and be thinking about is, just like we talked about, Joey Logano and some of those others, Ryan Blaney, the further back you are, the sooner you have to make your move. Denny, he wants to wait till the last lap. He wants to wait till either off of turn 2, halfway down the back straightaway. But if those others start to make a move, he's got to react.
Yeah, what Boyer wants is for Almirola and Logano and Blaney to get side by side, and then the Fortino car just drive to the start-finish line all by himself. That's what he would like to see happen.
Vince?
It's interesting, you know, how the other spotters on the teams, Brett Griffin, for instance, the spotter for Clint Boyer, just told Boyer that Denny Hamlin's car is handling is going away, particularly as he comes through the tri-oval. So they're a little more confident that Hamlin's not going to have the car behind him to get by Boyer, but it's those others that might team up behind Hamlin that could be a problem for Boyer.
Well, lining up the chess pieces, I think if you're Hamlin, you've got to wait till turn 3 of the last lap, because if the move works, you've got time to get to the finish line ahead of Boyer. If it doesn't work, you're not going to lose a whole lot of spots between there and the finish line, you hope.
Well, you remember what happened in the first duel with the 43 car. Remember how he dropped the inside and passed a whole bunch of cars? You know a guy's going to do that in this race? That 9 car. Because he's been trying that. I watched him on that last lap. I bet he goes to the bottom and passes some cars.
And going back to Denny Hamlin, I wouldn't put too much stock in what that car is doing through the tri-oval. If he gets a run and gets right up under the rear bumper and spoiler of Clint Boyer through the tri-oval, that part of the racetrack, it's still a turn, not a big turn, but it's also less banked than any other portion of this racetrack other than the straightaways. The cars tend to get a little loose in that area. Don't count him out by any means.
Denny Hamlin has 3 dual wins. In 2 of them, he took the lead with 2 laps to go.
Saw a little bit of a move right here by Chase Elliott. Nice move. He recognized that 13 of Ty Dillon was trying to make a move on the 1 of Kurt Busch, and he had momentum. And as Ty Dillon slid up front of him, he side drafted. Got a little sideways when they did it also, but he made the pass.
I'm really kind of impressed with Chase in this race. I thought he might be real conservative, take it easy, maybe not do anything erratic, but he has driven his butt off trying to get to the front. He's been on the bottom, just like you see him right here now. I mean, he's going for it every lap, and he's going to slide right in there, right in front of Kurt Busch.
That was a power move on Kurt Busch. That was nice.
One of them was going 200, and the other was going 199. That's all it took.
That's a hard move to make on a veteran driver like Kurt Busch. He's a Daytona 500 past champion, and he blocked that move a few laps earlier when Chase Elliott tried to make it. Couldn't block that one. And we know what Chase is going to do. They've already been talking about Jamie McMurray in this 40 car.
Yeah, they think McMurray's maybe the slow, hold him up a little bit. He'd probably get a run on him. He's going to back off right here and try to get him down the back.
Well, you can tell. I think McMurray's having some issues handling. You could see right there, even with the gap.
Ooh.
Whoa.
Easy, boys. Easy, boys. Easy.
Boy, Kurt Busch.
Oh, he toes the hole.
Kurt Busch, he saw an opening on that outside lane and filled it.
But remember,
no gap behind him. The 13 is going to fill it.
The
but
40
there is a gap behind the 13.
and the 1 are teammates. So Busch may have given Elliott just enough of a boost so that he dropped down, and then Busch comes up and picks up his teammate in the 40.
Well, we talked about a savvy, that Kurt Busch is a savvy drafter and a really good guy on these restrictor plate tracks. He just showed how good he was right there by closing that door on the 9 car.
Well, Chase Elliott's showing these guys how good his car is and how good he is. Passes Ty Dillon back. Heck of a race going on back here.
This gets a little dicey right here.
Now, I think
contact.
He closes up on the 1, and now he's sandwiched between the 1 and the 40. Sorry, that's the 40 of Jamie McMurray. I think he kind of gets sandwiched between those two, and it allows Kurt Busch to get that move, make that move on the outside.
And Kurt thought, well, I think I'll try to get by the 40. Don't think that's going to work either. And Chase Elliott in the 9. He's right on the back bumper. McMurray, follow me, buddy.
He just returned the favor.
He did. I see how this works.
13 by 2. Clear by 2. All clear. All clear. All clear.
Going to be 5 to go when they come back to the line. Here we go again.
Oh, now I think he's got the move made this time. He saw the weakness. He saw where on the racetrack Jamie McMurray was struggling.
Yeah, it's this thing, what I said, strengths and weaknesses. Where am I good and where's the other guy bad? And I'll capitalize on that.
Now back up front, we've been looking at Bowyer, at Hamlin, at Almirola. Larry?
I just want you to watch Joey Logano on that 22 car. When I asked him yesterday, how do you approach the duel? He said, look, it's a race, it's a trophy, and there's 10 points. You know what I'm going to do.
You got that right. I know what he's going to do, too. He's going to drop down here in a minute, and hopefully that 10's going to go with him. That's what he's thinking.
4 Fords and Hamlin's Toyota in the top 5 with 5 to go.
And the one advantage Joey Logano has right now, he actually does have a teammate out there right behind him in Ryan Blaney.
Yep. Now the Fords are setting in pretty good shape. There are 4 of them there in the top 5 with just Hamlin kind of odd man out. We'll see what happens here. It's going to get interesting.
Meanwhile, the Chevrolets keep battling among themselves for 6th place.
And I think Kurt Busch is finally going to clear Jamie McMurray. Oh, wow, that was tight. Looked like the 3 of Austin Dillon. I don't know if he got loose or lost the nose right there, but almost made contact with Jamie McMurray.
Well, I think everybody has seen that McMurray's car maybe is not just handling exactly like he'd like it to. It's costing them some time, and that's why they're able to get in front of him.
Well, let's remember, too, these tires are pretty worn out. They didn't change tires, right? They just put fuel in the car on that one stop that they made. So I would think that the handling's starting to go away on quite a few of these guys.
Here's where I see the 40 car struggles the most. He's just not good on the straightaway at all. He loses a lot of time down the straightaway.
And just to keep you informed, Brendan Gaughan in the 62, 1 lap down, but he is in the transfer spot ahead of Casey Mears and Joey Gase. So Gaughan and Mears would make the 500 the way things sit right now with 3 to go.
Mike, 3 to go. Getting down to it, brother. Ooh, did you see Hamlin? Got back in, jumped out a little bit there. I don't know what he did, but almost lost the back of the car.
Yeah, now if he's loose in the corners, it's going to be very hard. Oh, Chase Elliott getting a big run on the 12. But the 1 of Kurt Busch not going to go with them.
Helping the 12. They're helping the 12.
I think Chase Elliott might have gotten into the back of Blaney's number 12 making that move.
Well, he's not. He can't do this by himself. I mean, he ought to know that by now, but it doesn't keep him trying.
Where's the cavalry?
Need some help. Need some hope.
They're not coming. So if Denny Hamlin drops down on the final lap to try to pass Clint Bowyer, does anybody go with him?
No. No,
Well,
he's odd man out, I'm telling you.
I don't see Eric Almirola going with him because that's his teammate Clint Bowyer. He's going to go to the back of Clint Bowyer and then see if he can't make a move on Clint Bowyer to try to win this race. But again, a conservative move on your teammate.
Remember what Kevin Harvick said? We want to see a blue oval in victory circle. They want, same thing applies in this race. Well, we'll find out here very shortly.
White flag waving. 1 lap to go. Sponsored by Credit One Bank.
There goes Joey Logano. He said, it's time to go, and I got my
And here
teammate.
comes Blaney pushing him. Can they do it?
Oh, he's going to get side by side with Bowyer.
That's the fast way around.
Man, he cleared him.
He's up in front of him.
Oh,
He made it.
Where
He
did
made
that
it.
come from? Unreal.
Told you that boy, that kid is.
Whoa, Blaney. He knifed it in there to get in behind Hamlin, but here comes Almirola. And Bowyer, they hook up.
What a move by Logano.
Oh, Logano did it, man. He had it all planned out, knew exactly what he wanted to do.
Used his teammate perfectly to get that momentum in that run.
He went to Homestead saying it's the big three and me became the champion. Joey Logano gets his first dual win.
Mighty fine job there, young man.
Hell yeah. Good job.
I love it. A year ago, this guy led all the laps and got passed by his teammate.
Great job, Joey and TJ. Way to get done.
This year, he only needed to lead one.
Did you see that coming?
I did not see. I thought he could get to second. I really didn't think, and he maybe even side by side with Bowyer. I never thought he could get clear of him.
That was a surprise attack right there, because I don't think anybody saw that coming. But he had it planned out perfectly. He knew what he wanted to do, and he did it.
And Brendan Gaughan from Las Vegas, Nevada, will race in the Daytona 500.
Yeah, he finished 15th. Pretty good job.
Well, you know that song, it takes two, baby. You got to have help. You got to have a teammate.
Now, this all starts through the tri-oval. As you can see, Joey Logano backs up to his teammate, gets a big run on Eric Almirola, side drafts the left rear, does it textbook. Now he goes to shortcut the corner, and look how much momentum he gains, and that outside lane lost when he side drafted Eric Almirola.
Don't overlook the push that 12 gave him either. That gave him a lot of speed into that corner. A lot of speed.
The big moment is when his spotter, T.J. Majors, clears him on Clint Bowyer.
T.J. Majors, one of the Dale Jr.'s always raved about T.J. Major, what a great spotter he is. Everybody was in that move.
A great run by the 10 of Eric Almirola also.
Teaming up there with Bowyer in the 14.
Look at Chase. He's still down on the bottom trying. I'm going to make this work.
Never gave up. Well, it's just clear sailing for Joey Logano once he was clear of the 14 of Clint Bowyer.
Logano, Bowyer, 0.16 seconds back, and then 100th of a second apart, Almirola and Hamlin.
Yep.
Just what Logano needed, some more confidence.
Well, that kid's pretty amazing on these restrictor plate tracks. I've seen that time and time again lately.
So the Daytona 500 field is set. Joey Gase and Ryan Truex, the two drivers that go home tonight. Victory lane after this.